One of the really interesting points that kind of happened around the game was Jurgen Klopp was sort of asked about his contract situation, his future at Liverpool. It was his pre-match interview with ITV, and he was asked, and he said, "I don't know, I really don't know." And he went on to say, "Our owners understood that things would take time. We obviously needed time. They're interested in development as well, not just delivering immediately. That's pretty helpful." But it was interesting that I think he's been quite clear for a year or so now that nope, I've extended. That's going to be me done, you know. And it's been referenced, this whole, he never really got the break he was looking for after Dortmund. You know, he was enticed back in a bit.
About 2 months.
He was enticed back in a bit sooner than maybe would have hoped. He always wanted to travel a bit and grow his experiences, etc., etc. This feels like the first glimmer of maybe his mind's been changed. And I think I wonder whether this last week has had an impact on this, because he spoke to the broadsheet.
I was going to bring that up, exactly that. He spoke before the Carabao Cup final about how much he was sick of football last May, wasn't it? And we knew that. You know, I knew that, and I felt sorry for him. I really did. I felt sorry for a lot of Liverpool people last season, because they were living under all the same pressures, all the same expectations, with none of the rewards really for it. You know, of course you get the personal reward, but who knows how much power that gives a player when you put all that in and then you get the ovation from the cop. I mean, they were getting me and Ian Doyle sitting there and looking at, you know, miles away from them. You know, that was their stage. It's no stage at all, is it? You know, so. It was.
We've read Ian Doyle's player ratings, so I can't imagine.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had Ian Doyle just doing this and that. You know, that was his. That was their reward for big wins at home or defeats at home. But I got that complete feeling from him, and I do remember that obviously around the time of the Leicester game, and I think they played Leipzig, and there was rumours that Klopp's gone. That was the rumour, wasn't it? Obviously, he wasn't, but it got to a stage where it was believable to a lot of people. I think it got to a stage where you could see it and you could feel like, yeah, you know what, I could. It wouldn't be that incredible a shock. It would have been a shock, obviously, but it wouldn't have been beyond the realms of possibility that I've had it with this. Maybe this season has re-energised a little bit of him, and he's realised that, you know what, I can't do without this, or I don't want to be without this for, you know, go too soon.
It's a difficult sort of, particularly that last 6 months, and of course it's more relief than a high, isn't it, at the end of the season? But you think about it, he loses his mother in the January.
Yeah.
He has to be a bit of a shoulder for Alisson Becker around that time.
There's others as well that haven't been publicised as well. There was a lot of suffering in Liverpool last season, not just on the pitch, and obviously Virgil's injury and Joe Gomez's injury, and, you know, Lord knows what, you know, how many players they had injured at one stage in the game. They obviously had to deal with the fact that they were surrendering their title that they'd earned, and then not really been able to properly sort of celebrate. They obviously had financial concerns around the club, and thankfully that they seem to have been kind of okay. It wasn't Armageddon in that regards.
Hey everyone, our brand new streaming platform, Redmen Plus, is here. Each and every week we give you a wealth of incredible Liverpool content that you cannot find here on YouTube or on our free podcasting services. We've got extra shows, documentaries, features, interviews, and a whole lot more. Head over to theredmentv.com, join Redmen Plus. It's a streaming service like Netflix, but for Liverpool fans. We love it, and we think you will too. See you there.
I like Jurgen Klopp, right? I've got nothing against him. I think he's a great manager, but I think on this occasion, he's played the system.
How dare you question my manager, Robbie? How dare you? How dare you?
What do the other side of it think? That's why I think Crespo's brilliant in the book. It's like, we all know what we think of Istanbul. What does AC Milan think?
Liverpool win the Carabao Cup in the tensest of tense final. Oh my goodness gracious me.
Frank Lampard coming in, does he understand what it takes to G up a team in a relegation battle? a team that's pretty disparate. It doesn't seem like there's much unity there. I've got real doubts over there. And we talked about Ellen Road and what the atmosphere can be like there. The atmosphere at Goodison was toxic that afternoon when we went up there, and it'll turn.
Just lastly on Alisson, because I have to ask, and I'm sure it's the thing you get asked most about.
Yeah.
Last season,
Yeah.
the header.
Yeah. That was nice. Yeah.
If the game goes to penalties, who are the 5 men you'd ideally have on the pitch to take them?
What this is the Club Legends show. It's for the legends, by the legends.
And I don't know if it's a freedom he's playing with now, or a confidence he's playing with, or whatever it might be, because John Henderson of old wouldn't have produced that, in my opinion. But that is world class, that ball.
We know he's just turned 25, 13th of January, Colombian international. So you can see this now. I've compared him with Sadio Mane in the Primera Liga for Diaz, Mane in the Premier League this season. What I like to see is that Liverpool dominated the possession in this final 15-minute segment here. But what you need to do when you're 1-0 up, of course, is take the ball up the opposition, not sit back, not soak up, just on the off chance that they do actually break you down.
He's going to be the highest paid player the club's ever had, if and when. I think he will sign the contract, and consistently saying that.
So this is John Henderson's documentary, right? So we have to say the truth, huh? So let me say it like this.
It's just, but there's just all those things it ticks on, because you're right, like there's obviously the personal toll of it, there's the feeling of like, have I got the energy to go through all this again?
Yeah.
You look at Gini Wijnaldum moving on, which Klopp wasn't particularly enamoured with, you know, him not being offered a new contract, say, and then you probably get into the end of a season there, and you're thinking, for a start, I've got to go through that all again, what if the worst happens, etc., etc. It's the beginning of the changing of the guard, and there must be a little thing when you're feeling tired, and you get into it. He's not a young man anymore, but he's a very energetic fella. But he must be thinking, have I got this to see?
Can I build another masterpiece?
We're only a couple of weeks away now since he was saying about like, I wish if I'd known how good a connection I was going to have with this club, I wish I'd come. Those kind of things. It does feel like his passion has certainly been. Reborn or reignited.
I don't think you can underestimate the power of having supporters, and a lot's made of Liverpool supporters and connections. And look, there'll be people screaming at the telly saying, "I tell you what, it wasn't that great last night inside Anfield," and I completely understand. But I think the passion and the sort of the warmth that the players feel is unarguable. You would never speak to a person, maybe Roy Hodgson would be the only person, and maybe Paul Konchesky and that era would be the only ones who said, well, I never felt it. I never really got to experience it, but maybe that was partly their own fault, but mainly their own fault. Yeah. But I don't think you'd ever speak to anyone who played for Liverpool, even if they didn't have a great time at Liverpool, who would go, tell you what though, when you're there, you never walk alone, or when you have a good win at Anfield and you get to enjoy that, it means an awful lot. And maybe that is what's happened with Jurgen. I mean, they're not particularly juicy quotes in terms of, he's not saying too much there, is he? But it's fair enough for people to look at it and say, well, it's a softening of a stance.
Well, exactly.
Or it's him avoiding the chance to absolutely shoot it in the back of the head and say,
optimism ahead
I'm
of
off.
things. Yeah. But I suppose as to the point that if he has been quite unequivocal in the past. And just that idea that I think a lot of people have kind of get this general inkling that I think the next year or so will be dependent on what happens and what this kind of squad and how excited he is for it. And I think it's telling that there's been a refreshing of some of the guys around him. There's a couple of different changes in the coaching staff. Obviously, the sporting director, the changes coming in and what that kind of means. He's in a comfortable position, really, isn't he? There's a couple more. He's got a couple more seasons ahead of him, and I'm sure Liverpool every couple of months will be going. Any chance?
And look at the rivals. Is Guardiola going to leave Manchester City? Possibly at some point. Are United going to get in? What are they? Imagine United were reborn as a force. I would back Jurgen to say, let's have it.
Yeah,
let's have this. Chelsea going through all sorts at the moment with ownership and obviously manager. would that reawaken a sort of another competitive? Alex Ferguson used to do this quite a lot, where it always felt like Ferguson said, "I'm getting off," and then like someone would annoy him one day, and he'd just be like, "Right, I'm having him." Like Mourinho. Or
he was meant to go in 2001, 2002. He was going to leave for the Glasgow Champions League final.
That was it. And what was it? 11 years he stayed on for, and not only stayed on, went sort of down and came back up almost as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Klopp is Ferguson, but no. It can happen with. I mean, Wenger stayed on a long time and still managed to win stuff towards the back end of his time as well.
But there's two great examples there, I think, where Wenger stuck very much to his guns and didn't want to change, and his way grew a bit tired, whereas Ferguson was able to reinvent himself along the way. And it's just fascinating because we're having these conversations about Mo Salah, and he needs to extend if he wants to become an all-time Liverpool great and an all-time Premier League great. And Klopp's entering into that period. I was looking into it just this week. His first 7 years, he's won as many trophies as Ferguson did in his first 7 years at Old Trafford. Right. Obviously there's different circumstances. Ferguson's got a couple of years out of Europe at the start and what have you, but Alex Ferguson is undoubtedly the best manager of the Premier League era. I don't know what it would take to make Klopp go another 20 years on top of that, mind. But
it'd be a great ride.
It would be a hell of a ride. Yeah. But that's what you're saying. There's a lot of contributing factors there, and I thought it was interesting you mentioned the Guardiola stuff, because he's had this in Germany where there's a lot of diminishing returns when you're fighting a superpower.
Yeah.
And like, it must be exhausting to fight City every year, and you haven't got the same tools and resources going into battle, and you're trying to compete.
He mentioned it last week.
Odds.
He mentioned it in passing last week. I mean, there's a famous quote from him where he called Bayern Munich China in business. He said, they see what's working somewhere else and just go, bang, we'll have that. Lovely, and do it better.
Yeah.
But he mentioned it last week. I don't know what the question was exactly, but it was just in a press conference. He said, I had a very good squad at Borussia Dortmund until the football world decided we shouldn't have that. And he means Bayern Munich essentially, but I think Man United took Kagawa off him, and Real Madrid took Nuri Sahin and people like that. So he hasn't got that. He doesn't have that. That's one less thing to worry about. So I wonder whether that might play a part in the sense of I could go back to Dortmund or go and manage Germany, but do you know what? I've got everything here to sort of to do all the things I want to do.
And that's the point, let's say Guardiola goes and going in a year's time, and Klopp might think, well, I could have an uncontested run at a league title there and just get get it sewn up. It's a fascinating thing. Or alternatively, Guardiola could go, I'm staying for another 5 years, and then he's got can I put myself up against that for all that time? Could I not go and have a nice easy life?
Exactly. I mean, look, one thing is for sure, it'll be his terms when he leaves Liverpool. It will always be on Jurgen's terms now. I don't think we'll ever get to the stage where Wenger out. We're getting that at Anfield. Not Wenger out, but obviously that would be a bit harsh on our side. But I don't think we'll get to the stage where he's outstayed his welcome at Liverpool. I think he'll decide what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we all live in hope, fingers crossed, that he makes the decision that everyone wants to hear from him, of course. But yeah, I mean, again, there's so many myriad factors in all of this. Again, there must be a point where you look at your squad and go, oh, like Harvey Elliott's like, I'm not. He's 2 years' time, he'll be 20, and he's not even coming close to it.
Why am I going to give him to someone else to enjoy?
You might just think, I might stick around. Let's hope so. He does for a man, because he talked about like the Kelleher stuff after Wembley, and how he thinks that football's a game that doesn't have sentiment, but he feels there should be room for sentiment in football. That that you get that real feeling that he might look around and do a bit of a Jordan Belfort, like Wolf of Wall Street, he's about to do his farewell speech,
smacking his microphone into his head.
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not leaving.
Thank you so much for checking out this free section of this week's Journo Insight show. For the full thing, head to Redmen Plus right now on the redmentv.com. Loads more interesting stuff with Neil, including a deeper dive into Neuro 11, the brain nerds that we saw at the side of the pitch at Wembley, and what impact they're bringing to the mighty Reds off the pitch. A little bit on the return to form and action of Harvey Elliott, injury updates for Thiago and Curtis Jones, and a bit of chat from our Journo Insight channel over on the Discord, looking at Chelsea and what Liverpool's latest accounts mean for the club. Head over, check it out on Redmen Plus for Journo Insight every single week.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to get your name here and here in the credits of all our YouTube videos, then become a Club Legend member on Redmen Plus. Get access to a full suite of incredible Liverpool content, pre-match, post-match, documentaries, features and interviews. And yes, Club Legends, get their names here and get loads of bonus features as well. Discounted merch, free merch, live show tickets and access to our Club Legend Discord chat, which we use in all of our shows. Get involved, the redmentv.com, Redmen Plus.